improves performance. A lot of the work that I manage is focused on interfacing with the brain. How do we extract more information from the brain, and how do we augment brain activity in a way that improves performance? Also, can we inject information into the brain? Can we write to the brain? You know, think back to the Matrix. Those types of technologies are actually starting to become real. Brain-machine interfaces, enhancing, sustaining, enabling, and restoring performance is what we focus on. So these are all healthy, normal people applications, so much in line with the super soldier idea. We work a lot with DARPA. One of the projects that we have been engaged with for the past almost 6 years now, stimulating cranial nerves to change brain activity in ways that improve performance. The original DARPA program was called Targeted Neuroplasticity for Training, and you can stimulate a cranial nerve that downstream affects key pieces of brain like locus coeruleus that enhances memory acquisition and retention, where we were doing a simulated ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance task, where people were learning to identify targets.
Like finding a downed Russian airplane in North Africa with code books on it, locating a kidnapped American general in northern Italy, looking into a Soviet weapons factory in Soviet Siberia, describing the construction of a huge natural psychic ability that we all have in spite of what you may have heard to the contrary. People can quiet their mind and describe and experience what's happening in a distant place or in the future. And this has been talked about. And another physicist, Gary Langford, very psychic, straight-up physicist, was working with Elizabeth Rauscher, who interviewed him. She's another physicist. All these people are professional physicists interested in psychic stuff. Gary said, well, I have a clear picture of a circular building. It looks like a giant UFO. Do you think Russell's been abducted?
Well, what is it? Carrie, what is that? What is that? Carrie, what is that?
I have no idea.
Holy crap!
Don't move me. Don't move me.
Ladies and gentlemen, quiet here. Security requirements for hand-carried liquids. A reminder attracting customers and the public use of wine. Customers traveling from outside the European Union and non-European airlines are not allowed to carry liquids concealed in authorized receipts have an evident bag. Aside from liquids, all other security products such as solid plastic, and cigarettes purchased airtime at any age with a longer journey can be taken with. Strictly liquids may be carried in addition to one piece of private baggage that is allowed to customers. All other items must be carried within the hand baggage. Thank you.
Ringleader, and he put his finger on Donald DeVries, who was indeed the ringleader. It's extraordinary. But they learned that only 2 weeks later. The police said, well, can you tell us something right now that'll help us? And Price said, would you like to know where the kidnapped car is? And they said, you're kidding. He said, well, so if you drive about 50 miles north on Bayshore Free on Highway 101, the kidnapped car is a white station wagon. It's on the right, parked by a diner across from two large white gas storage cylinders in the pedestrian overpass across the freeway. And one of the detectives said, well, I know where that is. That's on my way to my home in Vallejo. 20 minutes later, they had found the car, and there are still cartridges rolling around on the floor of the car. That's as close to magic as I've ever seen in my 20 years in the laboratory. And so Elizabeth said, just tell me what you see, make a drawing. And of course, his drawing was a remarkably accurate, this was his also first remote viewing. Gary just came in and said, well, I've been doing this all my life, avocationally. That's how I was an analyst, photo analyst, looking at specs of buildings and describing what's inside. So he was experienced to look at fuzzy images But here we just took away the image, but it didn't interfere with his ability at all. Living psychic today, prodigious psychic. And his first trial, sitting with me, what's this remote viewing stuff? All of these people are basically tough Army officers, showed up in their boots and leather jackets and their patches and their backpacks. What's this psychic stuff? What do you want me to do? Betting their careers that this is a new, interesting juncture for them. So I described remote viewing, as I always do. I've been doing workshops now for 20 years. My ritual, the shibboleth, is close your eyes, quiet your mind, and describe the surprising pictures that appear in your awareness. Don't try and name it. Don't try and guess. Just describe the surprising images. And that language was understood 1,200 years ago and appears in Patanjali's guide, Self-Liberation for Seeing with Naked Awareness. If you want to move from suffering and conditioned awareness to freedom and naked awareness, sit down and shut up and quiet your mind, stop naming, stop guessing, and you're on your way.
People were able to learn about 20% faster. They were able to retain the information better, so about 90 days after we completed the training, the effect size actually got bigger. So now the difference is 35%. The group that got the sham stimulation actually forgot more information more quickly, so their memory decay rate was faster. It's this, essentially it looks like a razor, right? An electric razor. You'd hold it up to your neck for 2 minutes, and then you have hours of after. We did a study for NASA, which is down there in the bottom corner. We showed we could sustain performance for about 12 to 14 hours, and that learning results have been replicated outside our lab and in the field. So got some money from OUSD from a program called Boost. And the whole purpose of Boost is to take biotechnologies and get them the last little bit over the finish line.
I wanted to bring to the symposium a new vision, a vision that if we want to have food security, if we want food security and jobs, if we want to have food security, jobs and healthy food and sustainability, then we need to do more than simply getting higher productivity of a crop. We need to look at what is the ecosystem capable of producing for us. And the first thing we have to do is really put the finger at some strange behaviors we have, like killing fish with eggs. I mean, we would never kill a cow with a calf expected in a few days. But we do that with fish because we don't have the right techniques. And I think we need to wake up that many of the things we accept today as being the way to do it and the way we've always done it, and let's do a little bit better, that is not good enough. We need to have a fundamental shift in the way we approach our food, jobs, and health requirements. To me, how can we do much more with what we have? You know, it's fascinating that in nature, everything evolves from scarcity to abundance. Always. I mean, even in the desert, there is very often an abundance that we don't see because we come from a region with 4 climates. And so if you've grown up in a region of 4 climates, you don't see the abundance that is created in an environment like a desert. And so, to me, biotechnologies also have to bring place and time-based solutions. You can't have one solution that is now going to roll out in the whole world. We need to bring things that are really adapted to the time and the place of where we are. We need to be prepared to listen to what the farmers can bring to us. When we drink a cup of coffee, we, in the end of the day, only consume 0.2% of what the farmer harvested. I mean, 99.8% is wasted. I mean, who invented the value chain? Of course the farmer is never going to survive really well. He's not going to be able to send his kids through university when we only give value to 0.2%. So the first responsibility I think science has to bring is how can we generate value to the complete biomass that is generated through a farming process. But value added, not just blow it back into the soil as a compost, not just using it as a biomass for burning. We need to generate value added. And that is what we are focusing on. We need to generate
It's actually now a commercial product called TaxDim, the commercial product called TaxDim, the commercial product for everybody else called the Truvaga. It's a company called ElectroCore. But this is one of the examples. This was with the Defense Language Institute. So the medical form of the device has actually been cleared as a treatment for PTSD because of this robust mood effect, right? So people feel more energetic, less anxious, less nervous, they feel happier, they feel more confident in their ability to do the tasks.
We enhance our bodies, the way we have plastic surgeries, the way change is becoming normal. Change is becoming normal. Splinter, talent, our dopamine and serotonin is all just constantly regulating. We are all just, we're good. We're good all the time, you know? People are going to be more open to changing their bodies, changing their minds, enhancing things. So I have a son that was born with no chambers or valves in his heart. It was essentially a balloon. He has a prosthetic interior heart, and I was told that he would never be able to do sports. Now an ultramarathoner. He runs a sub 3-hour marathon and holds the fastest known time for the Manhattan Loop. He runs a sub 3-hour marathon and holds the fastest known time for the Manhattan Loop.
Wow.
He is an enhanced human in some way, right? And we, to your point, he had an issue, so nobody minded doing surgery. And I joke, but he has a prosthetic interior heart, and I was told that he would never be able to do sports. The straight, narrow, clear requirements that we've always had now don't entirely match what we need, and also don't match what the next generation is bringing to the table. And I think we have to be careful assuming that negative is going to be the result.
What do you do when their service is up?
Terminate.
What happens, psychologically and mentally? What happens, psychologically and mentally?
Arguably, can't make the assumption that by enhancing the capability of the brain that there's going to be damage afterwards, perhaps.
Healing because it's safe, reliable, reversible, right? And I think the reversible piece is the big thing, right? I mean, people don't want permanent changes done to their body with technologies that are relatively new.
Ionosphere for a few minutes, and then you shut it off, and you watch the ionosphere repair itself. It does that in a few seconds, and you do a lot of experiments that way, things you can't do in the laboratory.
First time I
bounced a radio signal off of an asteroid, all the name of science. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, otherwise known as HAARP, is a research site in Gakona operated by the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Well, today scientists performed an experiment where they transmitted radio signals to an asteroid as a test for probing a larger asteroid that will pass closer to Earth in 2029. Now, probing the asteroid helps scientists better understand its interior, which is important for determining how to defend against it before it can cause major damage here on Earth.
Hello, I'm Reese Williams. I'm the Acting Director of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. And over the next few minutes, we're going to walk you through the overview of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency and how we're part of the ANS family and how we support the department and the nation as a whole. So the Defense Threat Reduction Agency is part of the Undersecretariat for Acquisition and Sustainment. We fall underneath the Assistant Secretary of Defense for nuclear, chemical, and biological programs. We are one of 3 defense agencies and combat support agencies that fall within acquisition and sustainment. The mission of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency is to enable the U.S. government, our partners, and those across the international community to counter weapons of mass destruction and emerging threats. So within the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, we have 5 core functions to meet our mission. The first is enable strategic deterrence. The second is to support U.S. treaty implementation and verification. The third is to partner to reduce global WMD threats. The fourth is to identify vulnerabilities and mitigation strategies. And the fifth is to develop and deliver rapid capabilities. The Defense Threat Reduction Agency was founded in 1998 as both a defense agency and as a combat support agency. Under our defense agency roles, we perform CWMD activities which are common to all the services.
Looking at new ways, new sensors to extract information from the brain. So there's this program called Individualized Neural Learning System that just wrapped up, but we have a follow-on going now. But looking at some novel sensors, so a wearable magnetoencephalograph.
So if you do these kinds of things to, to an individual, what do you do when their service is up? What happens? Are they just literally then owned by the government for life?
Termination. Termination. Termination.
How does that work?
Terminate. That's what I can do.
I mean, so if you do these kinds of things to, to an individual, what do you do when their service is up? What happens? Are they just literally then owned by the government for life?
Termination.
Okay.
Terminate. That's what I can do.
I mean, right? So what happens, psychologically and mentally?
Implanted chip.
Our dopamine and serotonin is all just constantly regulating. We are all just, we're good. We're good all the time, So
it's like, whoa, whoa.
You have to be careful assuming that negative is going to be the result. One in this room is in the generation up. We're talking a lot about it because the straight, narrow, clear requirements that we've always had now don't entirely match what we need and also don't match what the next generation is bringing to the table and some of the questions that they're having. We're seeing, it used to be that having a tattoo was kind of a shocking thing. Now, I never saw a mom when I was young that had a tattoo. Now it's so commonplace they don't even think anything of it, and you may not think that's a big shift.
Okay, going to offset. 10-4. Seconds. Going to line top. 10-4.
Well, I'm going to show you what happened here. This poor soul right here got burned out. Literally burned. This is a body, people. A body. This is what fire does. a small dog. This is what happens. I was not, but oh my God, I'm feet away from here. This is where I jumped over the fence right there. Now, this is the poor guy came down to get my crippled friend out, and he didn't make it. Nobody made it down here. These people all got burned out. I was right down below them here, and my friend, as the car's on fire, you can see he's dead, and his mother. I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, these people all got burned out. There's dead bodies in here. They're all burned. Every fucking one of them. You can see the bones in the front seats. These people got burned out in their cars like I almost did. Dead, dead, dead. Everybody here is dead. All 4 cars. Jeep made it, my dogs. I prayed. This is the Holy Spirit working for you. I mean, my dogs went through the fire. It's totally meltdown. Oh, everybody died down here.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. My name is Russell Targ, and I'm a physicist. And it's my great pleasure to tell you about the remarkable work we did at Stanford Research Institute investigating psychic abilities. We did that for the CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, NASA, and many, many other intelligence agencies, part of the U.S. government intelligence system. I got into all this as a childhood magician, standing on the stage in New York doing mental magic. And I had the experience from time to time of having a direct perception of something in the life stream of the person whose mind I was pretending to read, or whose fortune I was pretending to tell. So I was not a real psychic. I was just a kid doing magic. But I've now talked to people like Kreskin and Melbourne Christopher, and they said, oh yes, every professional magician knows that from time to time you're given some material, and you can then supplement your magic trick with whatever ESP comes to you. And there are many magicians who do that, as we know.
I make it a little bit of a joke, but you know, we can read it, Brave New World and many other dystopias and consider these concepts, but I think we have to be careful assuming that negative is going to be the result. Perhaps this will actually enhance. And I also think we have to be careful assuming people wouldn't want to try it. I think there are many people that would be interested in body enhancements. Almost everyone in this room is in the generation a ways up from it, but the next.
What do you do when their service is up?
Terminate.
I mean, one of the greatest, problems that we've faced more recently for our warfighters is PTSD, yes. Right? So what happens, psychologically and mentally